the games from last week, and then this week's coming up. Uh, super exciting week last week. I could not believe the games. It was awesome. I mean, I don't know what you thought about them, but
Oh no, every game last week was a game. Even if one game the team was getting blown out, they brought it and made it a game and won it overtime. I mean, like every game from Friday to Sunday was awesome. It was awesome lacrosse to watch.
it was, and
I
we
hope it stays like that for the rest of the year.
yeah, hopefully. And we got the Vancouver Calgary game going up right now. And you've got a young team in Vancouver with a lot of new offensive pieces kind of moving in and out there.
Yeah.
And they're they're really relying on some of these guys to score, 4 goals a game, 5 goals a game. And if they don't get that, 5, 6 goals a game, it didn't seem to go very well for them.
No. I would say the first thing I'd say about the Vancouver Roughnecks game is I can't stand the Roughnecks turf. Oh, it's hideous. I'm sorry. I mean, whoever likes it, kudos to you. I mean, I like color, but I just like even watching on TV, it's hard to pick up some things, and I don't know. They need to change that.
Yeah,
But
that
yeah, that game was good.
yeah, it was a lot better game for Vancouver than
Yeah.
last week. I mean, they brought it right to the end, and they're definitely seem to be picking. We haven't seen Chase Scanlon on the board too much this year yet. He's a younger guy though,
No.
but I think that's what if they got to get over that hump, you're gonna need to start seeing goals from guys like him.
Yeah, like right now, it's the Mitch Jones and Keegan Ball show right now. Those two, I mean, they've been playing with each other for the last 3, 4 years now, and it shows that once they started passing the ball back to each other, they were getting shots and goals. I mean, Chase, he's out there, he's setting his picks, but I mean, last week's game, he looked kind of lazy out there, like standing around. This past weekend, he was moving, getting the ball, asking for the ball, and I don't remember him getting a shot off at all. But I mean, but he was doing more out there for getting Keegan open or whatever line he was on. But yeah, that was a their offense just needs to click. That's all it is. I mean, when it does, they score goals, but it's
Yeah.
few and far between when you do.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I think really just getting a couple of more of those younger guys in it. And I think as they mature, you kind of that it's a fast pace. I mean, that's a different style when you're out there with all those guys when everybody's as fast as you're used to being and everybody's as good as you're used to
Yes.
being. And now, all the guys out there are that good. And that's what you see with Calgary is they were able to, all the pieces worked. The defense was able to step up when they needed to, and they won by, a smaller margin, which was a way better game for Vancouver. But at the end, all that matters is wins
So
and losses.
it was what 9-11. Calgary won, but like you said, Calgary they're veterans on that team, but they're not old veterans. They got their 3, 4 years playing together, and Jesse King for Calgary, he's been there for a while, and he stepped up big time, and he's the captain now. He's the new captain for the team, and it showed. I mean, he pumped in 3 goals there at the end to slowly take the lead away from everybody.
Yeah, and that's kind of you need that guy with the hot stick. You need a guy Dixon. You need that extra guy to step in to make up the difference, and hopefully, you know. And like I said, it
Yeah,
worked for them. All the pieces were clicking. It was a really nice game. Vancouver looked a lot better than they did the last week, but they hopefully are going to step it up when they play again this week. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes here. But now let's talk about this Toronto Rochester game. What happened to Toronto?
got outplayed. That's all I could see. Is they got outplayed. I mean, Rochester went in there to win the game, and they stuck to it and won the game. I mean, Hogarth and Fields were just lighting them up. I mean, Big Smith last year he was getting 3, 4 goals a game, and he had a couple shots and maybe assists or two. I didn't really look at his stats too much, but he was a non-factor out there. But Hogarth and
Yeah, and
Fields, they it
it's
was
a
ridiculous.
it's a show, and then you see Ryan Smith gets on the board for the first time this year, and now if
Mhm.
he starts getting hot, I mean that is a hot team, and they really showed it, and they played well. And the most important thing I think, other than the offense, is Hartley is
Yeah,
playing.
Hartley
And,
that was ridiculous. The saves he was making.
and it's not even like, yes, Rochester plays good defense sometimes, but a lot of those saves were not on good defensive plays. They're breakaways, they're odd man rushes. It was wow, the Hartley show. That game, Toronto easily could have. I mean, we're talking about what happened to Toronto, but without Hartley, that easily could have been a Rock victory.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it should have been a Rock victory if Hartley wasn't in there. Like Dan Dawson got the ball around the crease. usually 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, he scores that, stuffed him. I'm like, I was just like, okay. Then he had that, they did a cross crease, he did a split, saved it. I was like, all right, this game's over with. Like they were clicking on every cylinder. And as much as Toronto tried to, they just couldn't get past that Hartley. Basically, they couldn't, the
Yeah.
Hartley hump.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
basically what it was.
and they even went on a pretty good little run there, and Hartley just, put it all behind him, and that's what makes good goalies is the ability to forget about what just happened. But I mean, Keogh's looking pretty good on that team. It looks like a smart acquisition for them. And
Yeah, Keogh had those 2 goals within what 23 seconds or something like that. I mean, the back to back, and that would break any team's back. And then the Nighthawks shrugged it off, and they went down and scored again. And I'm like,
yeah,
they're looking complete.
yeah, they're looking, and that's the thing. I think without Hartley, we'd be right now talking about how well Keogh fit in that piece. Schreiber's doing his
Yeah,
thing, Dawson up front, and you got everybody playing well because it wasn't as lopsided as everybody thinks. But Toronto, you're expecting. I mean, last year they went in and dominated Rochester.
yeah. I actually went up to that game in Rochester last year, and Toronto Rock just rolled right over the Nighthawks. I mean, it wasn't. It
Yeah,
started being funny. Like, oh, they're just doing this and doing that. But I mean, this last game, like Zach Mans had I think a couple goals for Rochester,
yeah,
but
that's
he
what I
was
mean.
having a hard time.
Yeah, but I mean that was the is really, and I heard the commentator say that 9 of the Rochester players play summer ball together. So there's 9 guys on that team that are playing year round, and I tell you what, it shows
Yeah,
because they came into this season on fire, and with Hartley playing like that, Rochester's going to be a tough team to beat. I mean, like I said, Toronto even got a couple goals. Keogh 2 goals, 20-second apart. We could be talking about what a spark plug he is, and instead we're talking about Hartley just being phenomenal. And if he stays hot and that offense stays in sync, I tell you, they're going to be a tough team to beat in the East.
yeah. Like you said, they're 8 of them play for Peterborough in the summer, and they just won a Man Cup. So they played all summer. They played 20 some odd games and transitioned right into NLL. So their chemistry is through the roof right now, and it shows. And like Connor didn't even play with them, but he's molding right into it real fast.
Well, that's one of the things. I mean, Connor Fields, I think, has an underrated lacrosse IQ, and to be able to play with guys, because you put him on any team, he's a pretty good asset. I was kind of surprised Buffalo got rid of him, but I think it's more down the stretch in those high pressure games towards the end of the year is what they're wondering what he can do. And I think that's the question with Rochester is, are they going to be able to hold this momentum? They did just win the Man Cup all summer with that group of guys, and can they sustain this? And more importantly, is Hartley going to be able to stay this hot all season?
Can hardly stay healthy. I mean, he's a very acrobatic goalie, so that's more tended to like pull a hammy or something like that. He stays healthy. Hartley stays healthy. I mean, they're gonna do good. Their offense of it stays same thing with the offense. If they can stay healthy and keep doing what they're doing, it's just going to get better. I don't see Rochester getting worse. They might level out. That might be a bad thing. They might level out, and everybody else might catch up to them, and then they're going into overtime games or losing by one. But I mean, as of right now, just on paper and watching their games, they're 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 hot right now.
Yeah, they are the team to beat. And then, I mean, the San Diego Saskatchewan game. What happened? So, I mean, San
I
Diego
don't
comes
know.
out, gets the first goal, then Saskatchewan comes back and goes on a run. And you're like, okay, this is so far what we've been seeing from Saskatchewan. Let's go. But then all of a sudden, I don't know if it was they had 2 of their defensemen get hurt, and you really see the defense fall apart. And then when they pulled Bouquet,
Okay.
it wasn't necessarily like one of those goals you could blame on him, the one where he really didn't know where the rebound was. But other
Yeah.
than that, none of those goals were really his fault. I mean, obviously goalies say that, but all the guys
Yeah.
shot hands free, wide open, after a pass, all movement. If Saskatchewan, their offense, they didn't even keep going, and nobody got hurt on the offense. The offense just got cold. It was crazy.
Yeah. That's funny because both teams pulled their goalies.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then, like I said, like Max O'Keefe, he got on fire. Then Dixon caught on fire. I mean, those two had 6 points in the fourth period alone. Just between those two, they had 3 goals and 3 goals. And then Dixon scores the overtime winner. I mean, they were just in. Dobie had a couple, and that was a crazy game. I don't know what happened with Saskatchewan. They just fell right on their face flat and just laid there and never got back up. I mean, there it was 10-3 going into the fourth period. That's a win. That's easily a win.
It should be.
That's a win. Like you got a W. I mean, but
Yeah, I mean,
and then I,
it was a they went on an 8-0 run, and it was what
yeah,
almost 17 minutes without Saskatchewan scoring a goal. And like I said, their defense wasn't playing good, and you need one of those groups. You either need your defense or your offense to start stepping up. And then at least Saskatchewan's offense, at least towards the end of the game, caught a little bit, getting the 2 goals to bring it back.
yeah,
But it
bring
was
it
a
back.
little too late. I mean, if they kind of kept that momentum and could have gotten the third one. But then into overtime too, we got to see, like you said, Dixon, Church. I mean, wow.
Robert Church, yeah,
They're really relying on Church. I mean, he had 4 goals, and he can't be. He needs the rest of that team to really step up around him. I mean, it's it can't be the Church show up there and expect
no,
to win the game.
yeah. I mean, like I said, Saskatchewan, they have a ton of talent on the offense, but like we both said, they just stopped playing lacrosse. It looked like just like they're just out there running around. They're taking bad shots, bad passes, and they weren't. Oh, excuse me, they weren't hustling really. They weren't playing like Saskatchewan was. They would have little spurts of it here and there, and then it would just crumble.
Yeah, it was
then
just
they're sitting there trying to pick it back up real quick and then crumble again. I don't know. That was a good crazy game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun to watch, and like I said, I don't think, I mean, there wasn't all bad to come from it. They did get 2 guys hurt,
Yeah.
but then there's a lot of things they need to work on. Bouquet, I don't think has anything to really hang his head about. He had that one
No.
where maybe he should have known where the rebound is. I mean, that's going to happen. That ball is flying off that post. But other than
Well, the
that,
thing is, it hit that post and flew right into Westberg's stick.
yeah,
And even Westberg was like, "Should I shoot it?" He hesitated, and then he shot it because he didn't know if Bouquet knew where it was, and then he wasn't. No, he didn't. He let it fly and
and
got the goal.
yeah, and I mean the defense just not communicating position. I know the goalie always communicates where the ball is, but the defense
Yeah.
should pick that up on a rebound like that. Yeah, I'll hear it. Something you would think, but yeah, I mean Bouquet and Penny came in. They thought maybe that would be the difference, and it's not Penny's fault. It's not that Penny
No.
had a bad game. He wasn't any better than Bouquet, but the defense again, unless they start getting the pressure on you, Mike Messenger can't be your only guy putting pressure on on your
No.
the offense coming down.
Yeah, in that run that the Seals had, you watched O'Keefe just shot right, was shooting around the defense guys, and they weren't pressuring him. Boom, 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 goal. Then Dixon started doing it. And he got the outside. They're getting outside shots.
And that's what it was. Is there was no pressure on them. They had wide
No,
open. Their hands were free, and they were getting to use the defense as a screen. They were stepping in. Bouquet couldn't see it, and they would shoot around him, and you've seen it every time. And that's where, you know, these teams with those goalies that are so good at those outside shots, as long as you can keep the pressure on him. But if he can't see the ball, you can't expect him to stop it.
yeah. I mean, if you're shooting through a screen or multiple screens, a goalie he'll stop 4 out of 10. The rest he's just guessing. He's dropping, hoping he saves it. Might hit him, might not. Usually it's a bad shot that hits him off a screen. But these guys they were picking corners on him.
I mean, there's a reason they're in the NLL. Those guys are all good.
Yeah, yeah,
Let
they can shoot.
Yeah. All right. So let's go on to the Panther City and Las Vegas game. I tell you, I was super impressed with Las Vegas, and I think if Rouet could have gotten a little
Yeah,
bit hotter and and that veteran leadership must be with that team with those guys and him. They're really that team was impressive. Watson didn't have a very good game, and the team still almost won.
no,
And I mean,
yeah. I
Watson will
mean,
tell you he should have had a lot of those saves, but
yeah.
yeah.
From watching that game, there's a lot of saves. I know he should have saved those, but
And
like
we've
with
seen
Las,
him make those saves in other tournaments
yeah.
and stuff.
Oh
He
yeah,
just everybody has a bad night, and then even I'm sorry, I don't remember the backup's name, but he came in though. He had a pretty good game.
yeah, yeah. I don't remember the backups either, but yeah. I mean, like the Las Vegas, they got a good team. Rob Hellier's on the team. He's a very good righty.
Yeah,
He
Eric
he just
Turner.
needs to. Yeah, yeah. ET out there. He's a defenseman that can. He got a goal,
Yeah,
and his work's paying off. This is his second year in the league now, and
yeah,
he's becoming he's slowly forming into a superstar.
yeah, yeah. He
He
is.
does a lot.
That highlight goal of him diving across the crease was awesome. Because what that does for a team when you get a defensive guy like that, that's a big physical threat, and he's
Yeah,
smashing guys all the whole game. He's smashing your offensive guys down, and then he runs down and just runs right by your defensive guy. And he doesn't even get a chance. That's just so like demoralizing for this team. But I mean, Panther City, props to them. They lost Jeremy Thompson and a couple other pieces, and they still were able to hold it together and win. And for a second year team, they looked pretty composed out there, and that was a nice showing. And I tell you, I'm excited. They got a tough weekend coming up with 2 games, but I think this was a
yeah.
great game of lacrosse. It was a lot of fun to watch, a good showing. I can't wait to see what Vegas does at home, but
See, with the Panther City, they played more composed this year, this game. Last year, you watched them; they were just it was look kind of chaotic. Get up and down the floor, let's go. And now that they like Malcolm would get the ball and he like settle it down. They pass it around and he would get their picks. And Malcolm would, I think he had 3 goals. I forgot,
yeah,
but he had a couple. Yeah, he had a couple of goals and he was big for him. I mean, they're starting to come together a complete team. Where Las Vegas, you can tell they're a first year team. They're still getting to know each other. I mean, but it wasn't a bad thing. That there there's a thing as a good loss. That might have been a good loss for Las Vegas because it might bring them closer together now.
yeah, closer together. Like you said, there's a lot of things to take from that game. Everybody knows Joel Watson usually is going to play better than that, and they've got
Hmm.
a lot to look forward to in this week. And they also saw if Joel doesn't step up, that they're back up. And I'm sorry, we'll have to make sure we get his name for next week. But
Yeah.
he really stepped up and played great. That's why I feel terrible about not knowing his name. But let's talk about the games coming up. We got tonight. We've got the Roughnecks taking on the Warriors in a
Again.
replay. Yeah, and
Again.
we've got a bunch of back-to-backs going on this week. And
Yeah.
what are you expecting going into this weekend? I mean, I would definitely think Vancouver really, really kind of needs a win here. They're 0-2. They played the Roughnecks close. They got a lot of positives to take out. They get a couple of goals from those support players, and I think Vancouver could really turn not only the series around, but then their season around and kind of keep
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah. I think Vancouver will go back and the coaches will watch the tape and see what they need to work on. And if they fix that, like it wasn't big serious things, it was little things that they had to fix. Do this, one, two, three things. I think they could. Yeah, I think they're going to win tonight. Actually, I think It's going to be 12-10. I think the score will be Vancouver because I think like Chase and all those other guys are going to step up finally, and um, they're depending too much, like I said, on Ball and Jones.
Yeah, and
They need to realize too that they can pass the ball, but I mean, I think Vancouver will win tonight.
yeah, I'm really hoping they do just to make everything exciting. But you see a lot anytime one of these teams has to rely on only 2 or 3 guys. Yeah, I mean every once in a while you will get blazed with a 5 goal game, and
Yeah,
you get those guys that do it. But you're not going to have a guy that scores more than 6 goals very often. And
no,
you need those support guys, and you need to get the goals from your transition guys. And like we said, Vancouver was right on the cusp, so it's not like it was a blown out game. They go turn a couple things around, and here we go. And now let's talk about another back to back. We got Panther City and Vegas, and like you were saying, now they get to come in, and if Vegas can come in a little bit more composed, like Panther City was, wow, I'm really
yeah.
excited for this game. This could be a great game tonight, I tell you.
I think that tonight's Panther City and Las Vegas is going to be a 1 goal game. I'm not. I don't know who it's going to be. Who makes the most mistakes is going to lose tonight. So Las Vegas can clean up their little things. I think they might come away with the win. That's going to be a good game. I think that's either way. That's a 50-50 game. Like you said, like Watson, he had a bad game. So if he's on fire this tonight, it might be game over for Panther City. You never know.
Yeah, yeah. Then all of a sudden, like, there's so much parity in this league when we talk about, teams winning. You're only winning by a couple of goals either way. There's really no blowouts. Even, every time we've seen one that's starting to build up, the other team's just caught on fire. And we're
Yeah,
seeing a lot of runs back and forth, which is made for some really exciting lacrosse. But I tell you, the next 2 teams coming up, they are used to blowing teams out of the water with Buffalo and Toronto. And I tell you, this Buffalo cannot be happy with their performance last week. I mean, it wasn't terrible. They only lost by 1 goal, but there's a lot of guys on that Buffalo team that did not play good. And now Nick Weiss is out hurt, or Weiss, I'm sorry, is out
Please,
injured,
yeah,
and that's a huge piece for them. He's might not be always on the score sheet. He'll be on there for one or two, but he is a huge piece for that team.
yeah. He's one of those players that he's kind of a glue, one of the glue sticks, I would say, on the team that keeps the team kind of together. And when you pull that piece out, that it could fall apart, or hopefully the next man up steps up and keeps the team together. But I mean, with Lease gone, that's no, it is kind of a big blow. I mean, he's a top tier player. So, but
Yeah,
that
he's questionable too. He might be in
it's
there,
up in
but
Hamilton.
yeah. So that's the thing. It is. It's up in Hamilton, and we'll see what happens there because that has been it's little things like that. And Toronto, I tell you, is
Ostia.
definitely not going
Oh
to be happy with that last loss.
no. So yeah, I mean, I was always going to go up to Hamilton and watch that game tomorrow,
That
but
it's
I'm going to the Bills game instead. So
aha. I don't know, man. I'd probably that's going to be a good game because I think you're going to have Dane Smith's got to be fired up, and the rest of those boys up there, Cloutier, they cannot be happy with it. Tehoka played great. If he maybe doesn't run into the goalie, maybe he can get a couple more goals, get a sock trick, and carry him through. But they are also a team that needs to not just have Dane Smith and Tehoka and one guy
and
who's hot.
Burn,
Yeah, Burn.
yeah,
You never know though, because if you try to rely on one or two guys, all of a sudden something happens, and you see it time and time again. But Buffalo
yeah,
usually is a team that doesn't rely on one guy. I'm really interested to see how Keogh and Schreiber and Rogers really pull together too. I tell you, this is going to be an exciting game.
yeah. I mean, I'll casually be watching it while I'm at Highmark Stadium, turning on the Bills to squish the fish. But I'll be watching. I mean, I'll be going back and forth. But I mean, that's like I said. If I wasn't going to the Bills game, I was almost like 85% going up to Hamilton tomorrow. I mean, a couple other guys to watch that game because I mean, you could play bad last week. Both teams played, could play bad, but it's a rivalry game. So when you come to tomorrow,
That's what I
you got a
mean.
different mindset. Your adrenaline's a little bit more. It's a little bit different. It's a different game. So
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be a good game. I got Buffalo winning that one though.
You think so? I don't know. I don't know if Buffalo's got all their kinks worked out. We'll see. I don't know. I would rather see Toronto win just because Buffalo beat us at the end of the playoffs last year, and I'm still a little
Yeah.
sour about that. But that being said, Matt Vince was definitely not overly happy with his performance last week, and
No,
he is not going
but
to play 2 games in a row like that.
no. Then same with Nick Rose. He didn't play great either.
Yeah, Nick
So
Rose
I mean,
didn't.
these are two top tier goalies, and
Yeah,
they both played subpar. I would say at best because I've seen them both play live before, and they're better than that big time. So I mean, I don't know. It's going to be a good game.
yeah, I can't wait. I think it's going to be awesome. But the game I'm going to this weekend, and I'll be sitting right behind the goalies, is the Nighthawks are taking on the Firewolves. This is I personally I think it's the game of the week too because I think it really is gonna. It's a huge game for what's going on in the East because if all of a sudden Rochester is out to a 3-0 lead in the East, that's a huge lead to come back from because then everybody else, especially if Buffalo loses, and then we've got a 2-1, and the Firewolves are one and
Yeah,
one. It makes things really funny. And also, I'm really interested to see how these teams perform. Are the Nighthawks a fluke because the Firewolves defense against Buffalo looked amazing. I mean,
yeah.
they
The
look
fire was
it
really good.
with Dougie back there. I mean,
Yeah,
I I honestly think the Firewolves are going to win this game by one, and I think it's because the defense is going to be able to put enough pressure on those guys, and you're not going to see the Connor Field show. Although he is coming back home, and I understand, he likes playing in Albany. He played
yeah,
college there,
yeah,
and probably because I said this, who knows what's going to happen. I'm not going to say he's going to get on fire, but I tell you, I think the Albany defense is going to be good enough to shut him down. What I think is going to be the difference is if Albany's offense is going to be there again this week, and you're going to see all the spread, Tanner Thompson and everybody spread out. You're getting 3 goals out of a guy, 3 goals, but the ball movement and the the system play. They had a couple of transition goals, but for the most part, they had very good like system play for being such a young team that they've been
Yeah,
working. And losing Resiteris, Banesh, and Riley O'Connor, we lost
and
Q.
Q.
Yeah, Q. We
Yeah,
lost a lot of goal scorers, and I tell you, those guys played amazing. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be the game of the week. I know you're
yeah.
thinking Rochester.
Right now, that's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be a good game. I think that game is gonna be one between the lines.
I think the goalies. I think which goalie's hot. Those two goalies between Dougie.
Yeah,
That game could be below 10. You might want to bet the under on this one.
yeah. I
Uh,
think that it's gonna be below 10.
and I think Albany. I think it's going to be a one goal game, and I just think Albany. But that being said, Joe Nardella's out. And that's, I tell you, Nardella, sometimes people say that the faceoffs are overrated. I mean, we talked about it before with Toronto last week. They
Well,
not,
yeah. Look at Rochester. They lost almost every faceoff against Toronto, but they still won. So I mean, it's that
I,
game. Like you said, it's going to be a 2-goal game, I think. But I don't know who's going to win by 2. That's a good part. That's a good thing because, like I said, both defenses are good. Both transitions are good. Both their goalies are great. Both
yeah,
offenses are clicking. So I mean, down the line, it's 100% all the way down, 10
yeah.
out of 10 on every line. So it's that's gonna come down to who makes the first mistake.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, like you said, a two-goal game. I think Albany's got it. That one-goal game, that's where you see that face-off, especially once you get to
Yes,
the end of these games. Because if you can get a team with momentum and they can get that goal and then kill a shot clock, that can be huge. And that's where you start to see, like you said, the face-offs. I'm not going to say they're overrated, even though, yes, sometimes it does show, like that Toronto last week. But I don't know. I still think like one of the big things is I think Nardell is most underrated for he wins the need to win faceoffs. Like if
yeah.
you watch the games, he wins them when they're important. He doesn't always win. He's still above 60% usually, but he like when it matters and he clicks so well even when he doesn't win cleanly, he's always able to kind of either whack it to another player or he moves around. It's really
And the
yeah.
good thing about Nardella, he can play D. He
Yeah.
can handle the ball. He's not just a face off and get off. He's a lacrosse player that can face off. Where TD, he's starting to play defense. I mean, it used to be last year if he caught TD on the offense or playing defense, the offense went right after him and would beat him. But he's there. That's going to be a big loss with not having Nardella because he is another player out there. So if he
Yeah.
lost a face off, he could play D, possibly get it back, and
Well, and that was actually this year in that first Buffalo game. He played a
yeah.
lot of minutes on D. He played way more minutes on D than he has,
Mm-hmm.
and not that he wasn't a great player last year, but he just didn't. You didn't see him out there as much as you did this year, and you really saw he was a huge part of that defense. So that could be a bigger aspect of it too, is him not being
You're
there on
kind of losing a D
defense.
guy.
And that, like you said, the transition, he can handle the ball up. He's good for
Yeah.
passing it. He doesn't always get a lot of goals, but he does. He gets a lot of assists. He starts a lot of offense.
Yes.
That's a big thing.
So you know what? I'll go with the Firewolves by 2.
All right. And
I think it's gonna be 14-12.
14-12. Here we go.
Yep.
I would love it. I'm going to be down there talking a ton of smack to Hartley. Sorry, Hartley. I hope you don't take it personal. Every time they score on the opposing goalie, I always tell them it's all their fault. I like to shout it. I got megaphones this year, so
Oh, nice. Well, that's what a fan's supposed to do. He's supposed to heckle the other team.
that's right. All right. So next game I think is a huge game for these guys. We have the Wings and the Swarm.
Yes, that's a huge game for both those two teams. They need this win. Philly needs to win. Swarm need to win. So I think that's going to be a good nose to the floor, grind it out, win for whoever wins that. I think Georgia's going to win. Just they're going to grind it out more, and then in the fourth they'll pull away. I mean, you got Lyle out there. I mean, now you got Q out there. He's starting to click, hopefully. And I mean,
Yeah, and Miles, you got Jeremy out there. He just hit the
yeah, you got Jeremy. Yeah,
he's setting records like it's going out of style. But again, I think his most underrated feature is how good of a defenseman he is, and how good like same with Lyle. If when the ball goes down anywhere near them, they're on it. They don't just
they're
let the
on it.
guy run
Yeah,
away.
no,
That's
they
where
fight for the ball.
yeah, and that's where like you said they'll wear you down by the end of the fourth quarter. They're getting exhausted. You've been getting chased. You've been getting beat down just like you're doing to those guys. And I think honestly, I think the Swarm offense is just going to score more. I think they're going to try to do the Blaze Reardon show again, and I don't think it's going to be enough. Unless
No,
Resetaris and Blaze both, I mean, because the thing is having Resetaris, if he can have a 5 goal game, and Blaze can have a 5 goal game, and then you've got 10 goals. But
yeah,
are they both going to be that hot? Resetaris didn't look great. He's getting some
no,
passes, but he's not looking like he did last year. And I think a lot of
no, not
that
even
is
close.
the systems that they play in. I just don't know if the system's clicking yet for them, if everything's working. And they basically, by the end of their last game, it was just like, well, give the Blaze the ball. He's the only one who can score tonight.
And that's exactly what happened. They gave Blaze the ball that third and fourth period, and he just kept going one on one and scoring goals. Where, like you said, Rezaterra, he's new this year. I mean, he's never played with McIntosh actually before, so he don't know what to do with him. And I don't know, like the goalies are decent. You got Goodleaf as one of the goalies for the Wings, and who was their starter? Well, I can't remember his name either. And then
Yeah.
you got Craig Wendy for the Rock. This is his first year full time starting, and it showed he was a first time. You know, he's been in the league a couple of years, but he's never had that role. Like
Well, you're
you're at,
replacing Mike Poulon too. You're not
yeah,
gonna.
you don't replace Mike Poulon.
No, you don't. And
You do your best to fill it.
yeah, I've watched him, and he's one of those guys when you watch, it's just he's a different level out there warming up and everything. You see it right from
Yes,
warm ups. He was one of those guys like him, Matt Vince, uh Dougie Jamison. There's just certain guys that they completely can take over a game because like even
yeah,
that last week's game, he had 50 saves, but it still looked like Albany was forced him to the outside, and that's where, like you said, these goalies,
yeah,
if Georgia can stay on the defense, I think Georgia's going to win that one. I think, like you said, I think it's going to be a fourth quarter. They're going to pull away a little bit after they've worn them out, and I think the problem is too is if Blaze is not a big endurance guy. Although in the third and the fourth he was scoring, but he's not somebody you can just keep giving the ball to. You're going to wear him down.
yeah. And like Georgia's defense, they're fast. They're big and fast players. They drafted good. They got the good players out there, so they don't get tired easily. And like you said, you see Lyle out there the whole game dragging somebody, and he doesn't stop until the final whistle. So I mean, he's going to do that. A lot of their defensemen can do that. So I mean, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And like you got Zach Miller now. He's with Georgia. He might catch fire. You don't know.
No, you
He's trying
don't.
to get in. It's
And
like I said, it's still early in the season, but
I mean, they're not shooting on Warren Hill this week, so it's a little different.
a little easier.
All right, so let's talk about that Thunderbirds and Riptide game. Now, this I heard some people pick as the game of the week. They think it's going to be the most exciting with the way that the Thunderbirds are rolling. And I tell you, that Thunderbirds team last year they did this too, though. They started out on
Yeah,
fire. They've
they went
changed.
what 8-0, and then lost 8 straight or something like
Yeah,
that. I mean, yeah. So
they're an emotional team, but I tell you what, Cody Jamieson looks amazing this year, and it's not even the goals. He's just playing great. He looks healthy. He's flying
yes,
around out there. Set.
yeah,
He looks like a much younger player this year than last year. I don't know what he did in between the off season, but that
he
was
did something right.
yeah, that was a good move on his
Yeah,
part. He looks good. That whole offense up there looks amazing. I mean, Halifax is always when they're on, they're one of my favorite teams to watch,
yeah.
hands down. They're a very fun, fast-paced style. Their offense is very and I
And
mean,
they'll have Austin Shanks will be back this weekend, I think too.
and that's what I was going to say. And
So
now having Shanks back, but that offense is going to be yeah, I tell you, if New York better be they're not going to be able to wait and try to catch up. I mean, it didn't work
no,
last time either against San Diego, and I definitely don't think it's going to work against the Thunderbirds. There's way too much talent on both sides of the floor for that Thunderbirds team to come
so
back like that.
so that game is going to be a track meet game. I think that's going to be up and down because both defenses are just athletic players. And like I said, like the Riptide, they're all their defensemen are fast and get up the floor. Same with the Halifax. They know how to get up the floor, push the ball, and then the thing is, both offenses now are settling it down. Like they get the ball to Jeff Teat, the Riptide, he calms it right down. They work it, and look at it, he's getting great shots now. Larson's setting great picks for him, getting him open, and but once again, he can't depend on Jeff Teat, and then he can't depend on Jammer either. So
Yeah.
Those
Well,
other
I
those
mean,
other 8 offense guys need to step up.
yeah, and you've got, I mean, Benesh and Stotts had 14 points in their last
Yeah,
game,
yeah,
and
it's ridiculous.
that's what I mean. Is like you talk about that Thunderbirds team and up and down the lineup. You take anybody in their top two lines, and they will be on the first line on most teams.
Yes, they will, and
They're
they'll be on man up too.
yeah, that's what I mean. Is
Yep, that's the thing.
their whole offense is nasty. If Warren Hill can stay on it, he got a little cold towards the end of last year, but I
Yeah,
think as long as he stays on it, and the other thing was, so their defense too. Like you gave Warren Hill a little crap, but they were banged up and running a lot different towards the end of last year. And I think if as long
yep,
as they stay healthy and run like this, you got Tyson Bell back there leading the way, and you want to talk about one of those players that just makes everybody angry. He will get under your
yep.
skin, and that's the thing is Riptide, they've got some young emotional players, and I think Tyson Bell's going to do his job, and he's going to get him. Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, like Connor Kieran is one of them.
Yeah,
He's an emotional player, and Tyson will go right after him and eat him alive, and get a penalty here and there. And then you don't want the health of the Thunderbirds on a man up
yeah,
at all, and not at all in the game. So
yeah,
it's that's gonna, you know what? Now thinking about it, that is might be the game of the weekend. So
yeah. A lot of people, like I said, the NLL people picked it. I think the East Coast thing with what's going on right now with Toronto and everything makes that
yeah,
Albany Rochester game so much more exciting. Plus, I'm going to be there, and I think the Thunderbirds, though, I honestly, I, I don't, I don't think New York's. Yeah, this is like one of the. If I'm going to pick one game, and this will probably jinx the Thunderbirds because I really don't know what I'm talking about. But I say if I'm doing a lock, this is my lock, as I think the Thunderbirds win this week. And like you said, I think it's going to be a track meet. I don't think they're going to be able to. I think New York is just not going to be able. You can't count on Jeff Teat to have all the goals. And yes, they've got some other
no,
pieces that are looking great, but it's not Halifax. And this early in the season, with Halifax's experience, I mean that's what Halifax has to worry about. Is towards the end of the year if they can stay healthy with the age because
yeah,
they.
that's what it is.
But I
Healthy,
mean,
they're healthy right now.
yeah, Cody Jamieson. Look at him. He's not in the shape he was in last year when he came in.
Not even
He is
close. He
in.
looks totally
You
different.
you could tell he took COVID off the year before compared to what
Yeah,
Cody Jamieson looks like this year. When you look at Cody Jamieson out there this year, he was like, wow. And it's not even that he lit up the goal sheet, but just doing the
no,
right thing, being the leader out there that he needed to
yep.
be, making sure that the guys that needed to get on the goal sheet, making plays for them, doing the right
And
thing.
he
And
looked fast. He looked
yeah,
fast again.
he looked fast
Like
again. And how
his
about
first step was gone.
Benesh? Looking at Benesh last year for
Yeah,
Albany, there was, yeah, he was frustrating
yeah,
sometimes at Albany because of the feet moving. He just didn't always move them. He's a great with his stick, but even he was moving better. And and
better.
and I
Yep.
tell you, this is it's a scary team. I tell you, anybody, I don't know. Right now, I think they should be the number one in the power ranking, but and then Panther City is going to take on the Mammoth again, and like we were,
Yep.
what Mammoth team's going to show up?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like that last game, that was. I don't even know what that was. Like Dylan Ward didn't look good. Zeddy got his goals, but even he wasn't like clicking with anybody. It was just. It really looked like this is the first time they ever got together and played lacrosse. Like, hey, we all showed up tonight. Let's play. I mean, there was nothing there.
No, I mean, and they lost a few pieces. I mean, they lost like
Yeah,
Eric Turner and a few other guys,
and Rue and
and
yeah. So
but that's what I mean, and that makes you wonder: is were those pieces? Is it a chemistry thing? Were they the emotional leaders in the locker room? Were they the guys helping get guys motivated, or was Mammoth just having, we've all had crap days before, and they just weren't feeling it yet, not used to. I don't know.
yeah, it was. I don't know. It was just. It was. Just, I just say it was a bad game for the Mammoth all around. Like it just didn't go well. Nothing went for them. They couldn't do nothing right. So they do that again, and Panther City's clicks like they were. Panther City will get that win.
Yeah, I think the hardest part's going to be, so you got Panther City's playing 2 games this weekend,
Yes.
and the Mammoth are coming off a bye. It's gonna be, if Colorado gets it together and they've had a week to plan for it, and they should all be healed up from that. You took a full week
Yeah.
off, everybody's good. They should run over Panther City, really. But I don't.
Should, or they're going to come out flat too, where Panther City's going to have that second game. Let's go, let's go. So
I think that's what's gonna happen, and I think if Panther City gets out to an early lead, and as long as they can keep it,
yeah.
you know,
So whoever gets the early lead, the first first and second period, I think it'll carry over and they'll get the win.
Yeah, yeah, whoever, who gets the jump
Yeah.
is and because I tell you that for Colorado, that's a huge slap in the mouth, but they didn't start great last season either.
No, they pulled it out when it had to in the playoffs, and like I said, then they rolled right through everybody. And
Yeah,
yeah, they lost that one game to Buffalo, but I kind of think they wanted to lose that. So
so they could win it. Yeah.
yeah,
And I tell you that team in Buffalo last year was amazing, and that's the thing is they still have Zed Williams. They still have
yeah,
so many pieces, and you really don't expect Dylan Ward to play like that again. I mean, he every goalie has a
yeah,
bad night, but you don't expect Dylan Ward to play like that again. And I expect Colorado to come out a little fired up, and I would expect them to really try to take advantage and run. But it's all whether they're gonna be there emotionally. They looked flat, like you
yeah.
said. They just weren't ready to play. Zeddy's out there and he's playing with heart and he's doing his thing and you see it. But there was only him and maybe two other guys that you
Two
could
other,
really,
yeah,
yeah,
they're
that you,
going right out there and giving it their all, and everybody else just kind of once they got down there, just like whatever.
yeah,
We're here. We're playing lacrosse, I guess.
uh,
And yeah,
yeah, just not a good way to start the season for them. And I'm sure
no,
they wish to redo it. But all right, we did 40 minutes, I think. So we barely
oh,
went over
nice.
our time limit this time. We're getting better
We're
at
doing
this.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, this has been fun as usual, and I will
Oh yeah.
talk to you next week.
Yep. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Rodney. We'll talk to you then.